July 4th weekend, three friends and I set out on an absolutely epic adventure into a seldom visited area within Yosemite National Park. The trip started at Twin Lakes in the Hoover Wilderness, took us through two absolutely stunning canyons, up over three 10,700-foot passes, and even along a little section of the Pacific Crest Trail. Along the way, we were able to bond and become better friends, and we faced some unexpected challenges that dipped a little bit into that Type 3 fun. Today was kind of a long day. We took a wrong turn and spent probably an hour walking a mile up a hill that took us in exactly the wrong direction, and then spent 30 minutes walking the same mile back downhill to figure out where we made our mistake and how we could resolve the issue. Other than that, it's been glorious. The first part of today was mostly along a trail that Brian and I walked when we did Horsecreek Peak several years ago, long before I had a YouTube channel, so I don't have any video of that trip. But I spent most of the day in pretty familiar territory, and then when we got to the junction, we took a left instead of a right, and now we are at Crown Lake, and we found a nice little campsite here. A couple nice little campsites. We couldn't really find one big enough for 4 tents, so everybody's just kind of spread out all over the place around the lake. It's very, very windy, and I think it's going to get really cold tonight, so I'm all bundled up and ready for that. But so far it's been a great trip. This has been kind of a unique trip for me. I so often hike either just completely alone or just Brian and I, and now it's me, Brian, our buddy Rosh, and our friend Jake came down from the Pacific Northwest. So we're all kind of hanging out together and getting to know each other, and it's been super, super fun. I can't wait to see what happens tomorrow. Very, very windy all night long. They're all up and in various stages of breaking down our gear. Getting kind of a late start. We had planned on leaving camp by 8, and it is now 9:30. These things happen. We have all day to walk 10 miles, so it's not that big of a deal. We have 2 passes to go over today that are both right around 10,700 feet, give or take. First one is Mule Pass, and then we have Burro Pass. And then we'll drop down and camp at a much lower elevation. It should be a little bit warmer and hopefully a little less windy.
One of the first major challenges that we experienced was that due to an outdated map and honestly some poor planning on our part, what we thought was a 3 to 4 mile traverse between Mule Pass and Burro Pass with minimal elevation loss was actually a very long descent into a valley, and then we had to regain all that elevation again to get over the top of Burro Pass. Now, the detour took us through some stunning landscapes, and it was really worth it in the end, but it did add some extra mileage and a lot more elevation loss and gain than we had planned on for the day.
Today was a tough one. We left camp a little bit before 10, which was a mistake. We had two 10,000 foot plus passes to go over, Mule Pass and Burro Pass, and then we walked almost the full length of Matterhorn Canyon. We're about a mile and a half, maybe 2 miles from where it intersects with the PCT. That does unfortunately make tomorrow an even longer day. We have about 14 miles and another 10,000 foot plus pass. So, gonna be another long one getting back to the cars, but it's been absolutely amazing. Matterhorn Canyon is one of the most beautiful places I think I've ever stepped foot. We're up and packed. It's a little bit before 7 o'clock. Getting an early start today after getting such a late start yesterday. We've got 14 miles today and another big pass, so I'll check in with you later.
Shortly after leaving camp, we found the junction with the Pacific Crest Trail and started an 800-foot climb. And I guess if you're going to climb 800 feet straight up, it's probably best to do it first thing in the morning when your legs are fresh. But it did set the tone for the rest of the day. We didn't know it at the time, but this was definitely going to be the hardest day on trail through some absolutely rugged and unforgiving terrain. After several miles along the PCT, we dipped off trail and into Spiller Canyon, and this is where the real adventure started for the remainder of the trip. The plan was to just hike all the way up Spiller Canyon, go over Horsecreek Pass, and rejoin the trail back to where the cars were parked. Sounds pretty simple. We couldn't find a ton of information about Horsecreek Pass. You can look at the maps, you can study the contour lines, but that really only gives you so much information. None of us had ever seen Horsecreek Pass, none of us had ever been in this area, and we couldn't find any really reliable trip reports. So this section of the trip was kind of a mystery for all of us. One of the things I love the most about these landscapes is just how immense and seemingly infinite they are when you're out in them. I tend to focus on the smaller details, a spring here, a wildflower there. It really helps to center me and help me enjoy and truly experience just how massive this environment is. You could spend a lifetime exploring out here and not see all of it. Coming up out of Spiller Canyon and over Horsecreek Pass was very strenuous, but we were able to find a nice line along the canyon wall that allowed us to gain the elevation pretty gradually, so we didn't have to empty the tanks to get to the top, which was nice because once we got to the top, things got really spicy really fast. There were a couple of super steep snow obstacles that none of us were really prepared for, and as we moved further down the canyon, it just became more and more steep and more treacherous. We were bushwhacking and we lost the trail several times. We could see on our GPS device what appeared to be a more well-established trail on the other side of the creek. We looked for, 25 or 30 minutes for access to this other trail and never really found anything, and just kind of decided we'd continue down the canyon on the trail that we could see. So we just moved slowly and with purpose. We were being very cautious. At a certain point, I just decided to give up the ghost and put all the cameras away and focus just on getting the four of us out without injury. It took a very long time to get all the way down the canyon, and I think if I had this whole trip to do over again, there's not a lot I would change. I would probably do a lot more research and try to find that other trail on the other side of the creek. But overall, this was a glorious weekend.